Hello everyone, my name is Matthew Johnson, and this is my case study number 5 about physical fitness involving children and other youths. As we all know, in our current society, fitness and physical health is something that is paramount to living a long and healthy life, and at this time, it's becoming one of the biggest issues throughout the world that's killing us by having sedentary lifestyles and not being physically active. That same concept also applies to our children. So the benefits of physical activity in children can be seen in improved bone health, improved cardiorespiratory and muscular fitness, improvements in cardiovascular fitness to include insulin sensitivity increases, good cholesterol increases, and lower risk for type 2 diabetes. And even children can make gains in strength with exercise. So the old adage or mentality that children can't do certain things, that's not entirely true. Another good aspect of exercise or physical activity in children is that exercising has been shown to have moderate to high effects at reducing anxiety and depression. Now, as the whole concept of this PowerPoint is to make children physically fit and active and give you concepts and ideas of how to do so, you also have to take in that there's going to be risks and hazards of exercise in children. Some of these risks may include that children have lower physiological thresholds compared to adults. They may not be able to create enough energy to hang with dad or mom or their teachers or their big brother or another adult or someone similar. They may become fatigued quicker than adults for the same reason I just said. Their endurance may not be up to par with someone who has been running or has a developed body at that point. And generally, youths have undeveloped bodies in the way of, say, you put a child into a hot environment, their sweat pores might not be developed enough to cool them down, and vice versa for cold weather. So you have to take note of that and make sure that you don't take these risks or make any hazards of such things. The last one that I have listed here is probably the most important thing that you should note, and that's that every child or youth must be screened for any and all health issues prior to exercise. You wouldn't take chances in this day and age. For one, everyone sues everyone. And then two, it's ethically wrong to not do that. It's the right thing to do, and you want to involve everyone in these activities and concepts. You don't want to leave anybody out, but at the same time, you don't want to hurt anybody while you do these things. All right, moving on to the social and cognitive benefits of sports. Before you look at these pictures on the right, I'll explain that in a sec, but let's go down the list real quick. Some of the benefits, both social and cognitive, of sports are that you can develop leadership. Generally, there's a team captain or somebody of some sort that has to take charge. Identity development. What do you want to be on that team? How do you want to play that sport? It's been shown to reduce stress, associate positive feelings for physical activity. It definitely has the ability to make new friends, and it's generally socially accepted. Everywhere that I've ever lived, pretty much there's a large contingent of people that like sports, like me. Go Seahawks. But this slide right here, the pictures I put on the right are just because I coach and I thought it was kind of funny. But another thing you learn from sports is what not to do. And this happens on every team I've ever coached, whether it be basketball, baseball, or soccer. Generally, you watch somebody learn the hard way. So don't do that. All right, fitness testing and testing components. Now, fitness tests can be used for a lot of things, but per the book, fitness tests can be used to measure and ascertain skill level, strength level at the time, flexibility at the time, the health fitness of the individual in question at the time, and endurance level. Some types of fitness tests would include runs, like the 1 mile and shuttle run. Now, this one right here gives me flashbacks to being in the Marine Corps, or I guess the Navy with the Marines, but muscular and strength tests, pull-ups and sit-up tests, whew, no thank you. And body composition measurement test. I guess that would include, like a BCA or taking skin fold testing or, a BMI test of a child or a youth. I don't think I've ever seen that in any schools, but I think I have seen it a lot when you get to middle school and high school with football or things like that. Fitness tests are important for a plethora of reasons, which can be found in the book or online, but some of them that I've listed here, they teach physical fitness and other related concepts to children and youth. They're good for measuring, individual skill level at the moment or physical fitness level at the moment. Maybe helping them go from there so that they can improve on that. Maybe they started running poorly at first, but later on you can use that to help them inch their way to running better. Alrighty, the PACER test. The PACER test stands for Progressive Aerobic Cardiovascular Endurance Run. And then this test increases in difficulty over time. Each participant must run between a 20-meter box at variations of pace but with continual increasing speed, and the participants can measure each lap one time back and forth for one another. The laps are counted at the end of the test. It can be used to measure maximal aerobic ability with children and youths, and this test can be made fun with a goal, a contest, or the addition of music. So essentially, this is just trying to get the kids doing, a physical activity, but being able to measure that physical activity. This might be able to help them, like I said on the previous slide, to help them find a way to improve from where they're at currently. For CRF recommendations between the ages of 6 and 17-year-olds, I have a picture here, which is pretty good, and you can find many pictures online or organizations that try to give you what kids and what teenagers should do to be physically fit each day. But some things listed here throughout the book were that the minimal standard recommendation for physical activity by children and youth is 60 minutes per day to include activities like muscular strengthening activities 3 times a week, or cardiovascular exercises or aerobic exercises. They are recommended, or it is also recommended, that activities are diverse in nature. So if you want to play soccer with the kids and 2 or 3 of the kids don't want to play soccer, well, you can't just leave them hanging. You got to find something for everyone to do. So it needs to be diverse and also age appropriate. You're not going to ask a 6-year-old to bust out 20 pull-ups on a high bar and say, that's what's required and that's what we're going to do. That's just not going to happen, okay? Another good idea or aspect to build these things around is the idea of making these activities enjoyable. Just like it said on the PACER test, you want things to be fun. You want the kids to associate with it in some way. Some activities to improve CRF in children would include playing sports. Like we've mentioned, like the book mentions, like any organization mentions, sports are a good way to get children involved and teach them concepts of why physical activity is important or why we do certain things. Other activities, I would say, after school programs. Where I live up here near Seattle, we have after school programs that take kids hiking. We have ones with teenagers that get them out, on the streets trying to help the homeless. They're moving around. They're trying to both be physical but active in their communities. I would say associating class time around physical activities. My children, where they go to school, the teachers like to take them outside for one of their classes, and they'll play music, or they'll have the kids explain to them a certain concept of some physical activity, like, hey, we're doing jumping jacks. Why are we doing that? What is it good for? So that's a good way to do it. Something I've seen around here that kills me inside is that everything fundraiser related is also like candy themed or McDonald's themed, which makes no sense when right next to school there's a sign that says healthy communities and healthy schools. I don't know who's doing that, but I would say making fundraisers fitness themed. Generally, they have a fun run around here, and it lets the kids, run around. They have fun. There's music. They don't have to do all the laps, but however many laps they do, there's an incentive to it as well. And then I would just say revolve activities around the outdoors. Try to make it so that the children, get that time that they may not get at home, or they may not get because of certain restrictions because of the way that they live or have to live. Having grown up in cities like Philadelphia and stuff like that, I didn't get a lot of that, and it's really good for the mind, and the same for the children. All right, moving on. 3 important points on how to properly train with children and youths. Number 1, like I've stated before, always ensure that the individual has been medically cleared or is able to do the activity or activities in question. I don't know why anybody would not do this, and it's not fair to not do this properly. The whole point of these situations and scenarios is to be inclusive, and that's part of the process. Number 2, adapt the exercise, equipment, or the scenario to the children. Having coached a lot and having had this issue a lot, for example, I've had two baseball teams, one that could play baseball when I asked them to, and another one that we had to have a dance party until they got enough energy out so we could play baseball. Either way, by adapting and having fun with the children and doing number three, staying positive, I think I set a good example, and the children took to me, and even the kids that had attitude problems or didn't want to listen, they started to listen because they realized I'm not out to get them, and neither was anyone else. And I feel like staying positive and thinking before you act are two major components when dealing with children or youths of this age. Whether it be a 6-year-old who doesn't know any better and just for whatever reason follows examples, or a 17-year-old who knows better but still is young enough and has like an attitude complex. Either way, by staying positive and thinking before you act, you set a good example and you prime yourself to be able to train with children and youth. All right, that's my presentation on fitness concepts involving children and youth. I thank you for listening if you did, and I hope you have a good morning, evening, night, whatever time it is where you're at. I hope it's going well. Take care.